Hello everyone, welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker Excellence. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FileMaker where every day we're talking about the FileMaker platform with all the great people out there who are working in this platform to make your organization better, more efficient. In fact, most FileMaker people really don't start off as FileMaker people. They start off as something else. Then they start getting into this low-code environment. They build something great for their business. And in most cases, a lot of cases, the bosses and the people in management don't appreciate your hard work. I can tell you, I appreciate all that you do because it's frankly a thankless job, but you can fix a lot of important business processes. And then sometimes you solve something for someone and they're tears because they're so happy. I've had that happen. It's really, frankly, fulfilling. So, upcoming broadcast schedule, talking about the FileMaker platform. Today is Where's FileMaker 20? And then tomorrow and Friday, we are going to be doing the FileMaker installation on Linux on Ubuntu installation tomorrow and Friday. Those will be all day kind of things. Really, it's a one-day kind of conversation, but Jacob Taylor is going to be beating on the questions pretty hard. We expect lots of questions to come in. And so that will be interesting. Then Monday, I'm going to do a kind of a recap with the emphasis on performance. We'll spend more time talking about performance. Today, we're going to spend kind of about a third of the time, first 20 minutes, so kind of getting us to where we are now. And I'll explain to you why that is. It's very important. And then next week, deep dive. And then Christian Schmidt, who will be coming up in the conversation today. Mike, Monkey Bread, custom functions, all sorts of interesting things with him. So that's a great conversation piece. As a reminder, if you go to fmtrain.tv, you can see the current live schedule. This is live data being fed out of FileMaker. If you want to support the channel, we greatly appreciate it. We don't ask for donations. We just ask that you support by buying one of our training bundles. These are subscriptions. We even have a double-year subscription if you're interested in that, which actually is gives you a bit of a discount. You get 2 years. And so it's really great. 90 hours of training on different topics. It's highly animated. This today is a conversation. There'll be people asking questions. Those questions will help dictate the flow of the conversation today. But in these, so we're not very, I mean, I'm animated, I'm waving my hands, but outside of that, there's not a lot of magical animations. But if you want to learn about the FileMaker platform, script triggers and relationships and anchor buoy and all this kind of stuff, then you need to really check out that dedicated training. Most of the people here in the live stream have purchased this, and if you haven't or we need to renew it, please do it. It helps support the channel so we can keep the lights on. It's really important to us that you do that. So moving along, so today is broadcast. I have I don't know if Jacob Taylor, you still on the call today with us?
I am, yes.
He is. Jacob Taylor's here, so, and Margaret's here, so we have so Jacob is adult supervision to make sure I don't get in trouble, and Margaret's here to make sure that we answer all the questions. So that's what the plan is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, like this. I'm going to move it over here. So this is a slideshow that we're going to kind of run through today. And the idea is that you'll still be able to see me, hopefully, which will be awesome. And that'll be great. So today is talking about FileMaker 20. And so it's really important that we understand what the goals are for today. The goals are to educate all of you so the people who are in the live stream here are pretty much up to date. We got Ron at MailSoft, Nathan from Warner from Twin Cities. We got Rick from Philly. We got a whole bunch of people. Michael Gravel. We got Alpha Lima 9261. We got Carbot, Global, Plant Switch, Jericho, Kimber, MailSoft, Marks, Mikey, Owl Smith. I'm not sure who Owl Smith is. Ryan Correa is there. TK's obviously. We got Brutterman, David, Ed, Fox, Jack, Jake, Kadidi, Jericho, King, Kyle. A bunch of people are here. If I don't mention your name, I can actually see you. That's great. And the Lobster is here. Holy crap. The Lobster is in the office. This broadcast is already in great jeopardy of failing now that she has arrived. So, to bring everyone here up to date, because I keep getting random emails from people like, Richard, where's FileMaker 20? I mean, it's not like Moki bothering me with like a joke. It's people really asking, where's FileMaker 20? And because they kind of been programmed with this expectation that it comes out once a year and it changes like 17, 18, 19, then what's after 19, 20, right? So that's part of it. Part of it's helping you, equipping you with what's going on, so you're able to have a conversation with customers, and bringing these people, what I would call the extended developer family. These are people working FileMaker, but they don't really pay attention to what Claris is doing, and so then they're kind of like caught off guard when, like, I had a gentleman who was like, hey, there's too many updates coming up from FileMaker. This is kind of aggravating. I'm like, that's kind of like the velocity of business these days is very, very fast. The things are moving rather quickly. So moving along. So historic expectations, that's how we got to where we're at. So let's rewind about a year ago, a little over a year ago. Let's just pretend it's May right now. That'll keep it simple. So it's May 2020, Claris ships FileMaker 19. And so there's these historic expectations that we get one big annual release. We have only features that come out, once a year. So new features are once a year thing. We get whatever's new, we get in May. The rest of the year is like bug fixes, right? And so the bug fixes come on whatever schedule, there's not a lot of visibility into that. So this is kind of the historic expectation. Claris, FileMaker Incorporated, has trained all of us to expect this. Over the last year, 18 months or so, they've been saying, hey, we changed that. I'm repeating this because not everyone heard the message, right? Very, very, very important. Margaret, keep track of the questions that come in. So moving along, we're going to kind of cruise through this. So all this has changed. And it's very important that we're getting quarterly updates. Sometimes they're a little bit faster than quarterly, sometimes a little bit longer than quarterly, but generally these are quarterly updates. We're getting new features on every quarterly release. So we don't wait all year. If you want a new feature, you probably only have to wait about 3 months or so, right? Customer-focused bug resolution. We're going to talk more about this. This is new. You don't know about this. I would guess that 95% of the people here don't know about it, and there's probably 5 of you who might be involved with this, and we'll talk about that a little bit. So moving along. So once again, I'm laying the tracks to get where we're at. So this is that boring third of the conversation for those of you who are not familiar with this. So FileMaker, September 2020, we get 19.1. They give us add-ons. Add-ons are this really big deal. And they also give us tight web viewer integration, so we start to see this. And promptly, you've got people creating add-ons, other add-ons. I mean, these add-ons right here are just the ones that Claris kind of threw in there. And initially, they're like, wow, that's pretty amazing. All the really amazing add-ons are like really, really amazing are all made by third parties, by developers, right? And so we get this situation where basically the developers are run wild. They're doing new interface elements. They're creating pre-canned blocks of code they can drag and drop and save time. For example, signature capture on all devices, Pro, Mac, Windows, on Android, which we didn't have. So solving problems we didn't have solved before. Drawing on screen, image manipulation. Basically, if you can hijack JavaScript code, you can load it into WebViewer and it can do something useful for you in FileMaker, which is really quite great. So 19.1 was kind of a watershed moment a little bit because the developers realized what was going on. And I've got people who don't normally make products who are very interested in building add-ons and doing this. And we've had a lot of webinars and solutions talking about add-ons. Drag and drop this in, drag and drop. All you do is drag it onto your file and magically your FileMaker solution has additional capabilities. It's quite awesome. So most of you know about that. And then of course we had the FileMaker server for Linux gets released for CentOS OS, right? And we'll just keep going. Right now we're just laying the tracks. We're not diving into the 19.3 yet. There was some additional support for near-field communication, some new GIF functions, and a bunch of bug fixes. Once again, these are down here the bug fixes that we know about. And then so in December 2020, we get 19.2.1. So this one I don't have as much information on, but we get plugin improvements for third party. Probably Monkey Break could talk about that, but it really only applies to the plugin people. There's support and performance fixes, support for Big Sur on the operating system side. People are like, how come it doesn't support the operating system? Well, it was in here. And there's more bug fixes, right? And so we kind of, let me see, what's the next one? Oh, yeah, March 2021, 19.2.2, right? So add-ons are awesome. So Claris back up here at 19.1 goes, wow, this really took off. This is great. Let's put some more things in there to help this conversation, help the community, because if we keep feeding them more capabilities in there, they'll do more, right? It's like crack. Total crack. So Claris gives us some additional Git functions. Git layout object UUID is like a secret stealth kind of thing. Most people don't know about it, but we've had webinars on it. It's huge for the developers doing add-ons, right? Okay, so moving forward. So the question is that 19.2.2, we also get a bunch of bug fixes, right? And these happen to be the bug fixes that we know about. And of course, so Claris, this is kind of an important thing. So this is your first major block of stuff you don't know about. Claris knows I'm presenting on this, but this is frankly has been previously NDA material, right? And so what Claris has done is they have the normal way of like people submit bugs to Claris and they deal with it. But Claris runs into periodic issues with customers where there's a customer issue that cannot be worked around. Most bugs we can work around, you kind of get around them, and then Claris, prioritizes on level of severity. Sometimes there are bugs that are specific to a customer. It's some issue with WebDirect or whatever it is, and it's basically going to cause that customer either to one, go out of business, or two, leave the platform. And so what Claris has done is they've looked at rolling out, or they've not looked at, they're doing this. They actually are taking their engineers and directly deploying them through Zoom. They don't use a helicopter, but this is a really good analogy, that they send engineers directly to the customer. There's no bureaucratic interaction between the engineers and the customers. And so they engineers go, oh, you've got this problem. Let's see if we can fix this. So they go back and they make a code adjustment to the application. And then if the customer gets a special build of FileMaker, right? And then what ends up happening is that if the bug is fixed and successful and engineering's happy with it, it gets rolled into the next release for all the rest of us. So this is going on. It's got little code names and things like that. It doesn't really matter. I'm not involved with it. I know a couple of the companies that have been involved with it, and they're important customers. Not mine technically, but they are people that interact with Claris, and so things got fixed. So Claris has talked about, well, you've seen 4 public releases, but they said we've released 50 or 60 or 70 actual releases or more, and they've gone to customers, and customers have tested these fixes. And you're like, well, I want that fix. No, you don't. It fixes some obscure thing that maybe you're not running into, and it's up to that customer to kind of test it, make sure it works, it doesn't break anything. Then after it's kind of vetted a little bit, then we get that fix rolled out. So pretty awesome, pretty awesome. So that is this, what I would call engineering direct to customer, kind of rappelling out of the helicopter or emergency fix kind of thing that's going on. So here we are. So we got Claris shipping 19.0, then we've got September, December, and March, right? Bang. And so then we get to today, which is 19.3. So really, if you understand what this is, collectively, these 4 items represent what would have been FileMaker 20. In fact, if you look at what's in 19.3, 19.3 is a huge release. It's bigger than all the other ones, frankly. Bigger than all the other ones, I think, maybe combined. It's quite large. We're going to spend some time talking about this. So people say, why didn't they call it FileMaker 20? Actually, of all the things I can help you with today, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know that they know why. Maybe they're saving 20 for a big future release. I can tell you that I haven't seen anything from the company beyond 19.3, so I don't know what they're doing. But I don't. So I can just tell you that my guess is that the next one will be called 19.4 and then 19.5, and at some point they will decide to change the number for whatever reason, right? So there we go. So moving along, let's talk about 20 a little bit. So this is Andy Lecates. Andy Lecates is chief evangelist, although I thought that was my job. So apparently he's their inside paid chief evangelist. He out evangelizes the FileMaker platform. And his exact quote to me was a blank ton of features in the release. But he said, you couldn't quote me on blank ton, so we're not quoting him on blank ton. We just have a ton of features in this. There's so many things in here, all of you are going to be overwhelmed. And that's why we're giving you the dump truck action. It's really overwhelming, right? So let's start off with some important housekeeping. First thing first, we've already kind of had some people run into this, and that is on the M1 users, before you update, you really need to think about checking for compatible plugins, compatible ODBC drivers. So first off, this 19.3 has been re-optimized for the Macs with the new Apple Silicon processor. So for those of you who are just Windows shops, just give me a second. I'm going to cover this. I'm going to cover this real quick for the Mac people. So Apple's transitioning away from Intel processors to the Apple Silicon processors. And I think you go like, well, why would they do that? Well, by the end of this presentation, you'll know why, right? It'll be very clear to you why they've done that. But so the rub is Apple changes the operating system. They start switching apps. And so Intel apps still work on these new processors, but they run in emulation. They call it Rosetta, but it's emulating it, right? It's like when you get a Mac to run Windows for you, it's kind of faking it. It's running it under emulation. So the thing is that you can't mix Intel plugins and Intel drivers with native Apple Silicon drivers, right? So M1 drivers. So you have to have, if you're going to switch to 19.3 and you're on a Apple Silicon chip, an M1 or whatever you're using, you need to look at getting updated plugins and updated drivers. So let's talk about this real quick. So third-party support, right? So Monkey Bread plugin available now. So Christian Schmidt has kicked butt on this, done a really great job. So these are plugins and tools and things that I use. That's why I'm talking about them today. Base Elements plugin, I talked to Nick Orr. Nick Orr goes, yep, we got it in beta. It's got some new features in the Base Elements plugin. And so you already have something that you can use right now if you want to do that. Jesse Barnum is like work in progress. Why is it work in progress? Because he's got like 20 products that all have to be updated, right? So he doesn't have one plugin like the Base Elements plugin or the Monkey Bread. He has to update a whole bunch of them. And so it's taking a little bit of time. I don't have an ETA on that. But this one right here, the 360 Works, is why I have M1 computers on my desk, and I can't use 19.3 yet because I must have 360 Works email because my systems, my internal RCC systems, use that plugin. And you can't use the old plugin. It just ignores it. Doesn't work that way. Any questions along the way? Raccoon Ops? Okay, so there's a Raccoon Ops asked a question that I don't have an answer to. If anyone has an answer to, it's in Twitch. I'm going to copy and paste it over here real quick. So he's asking about why it doesn't show the update yet. I don't know. Why is your computer not automatically updating? I'm not Claris entry-level tech support, right?
I think Christian Schmidt said a bit earlier that it takes him a week to ship the automatic updates.
Okay.
So
That could be. Yeah, I have no idea why that is. I want to welcome Jeffrey and Laurent and Timothy and Rex and Twa and Alistair. Welcome. So this is the current status right here. Additionally, if you're using a M1, I guess at this point Mac Mini, eventually there'll be M1s and everything, or Mac, the new iMac, I guess, is the M1, the 24-inch, I guess. You might use that server. You might connect it with an Oracle or SQL source or something like that. You need ODBC drivers. So Jonathan Monroe at Actual Technologies talked to him yesterday or day before. He said that they would have the drivers updated tomorrow, which basically means they're available, right? You probably email them, he can send them to you right now. So basically most everything is up to date, and the people who have lots of updating to do are still trying to get that caught up. I'll get an update from 360 Works at some point, and we'll keep the people who watch the live streams up to date with that information. So let's talk. This is the really cool part of the broadcast. I love this. So M1 optimized. So once again, there's things for Linux users, things for Windows users we're going to get to you. Don't be depressed. There's awesome stuff for you too. Let's just finish covering the Mac stuff. So they optimized it. So first they did is broke all the plugins and drivers, right? But what do you get for breaking it? So let's talk about that a little bit. So Hanset24U is kind of an interesting guy. He creates a ton of really great kind of interesting hardware integrations. He's a FileMaker consultancy. He's in the Czech Republic. I think they call it Czechia or something. Interesting name the other day. I had not heard that one. But I'm here in America, in California. I'm busy. So, but yeah, he has done great stuff. And he has a performance testing application. He has been killing the performance testing. So he has got an app that does performance testing. Now, I want to talk about the performance testing real quick. I'm not going to get into all the tests. He has like 100 tests or whatever it is. And then it tests, create 1,000 records, and then do an unindexed search, and then do a find, and then create 1,000 other records, then delete, and then do a go to related record, and then delete a bunch of stuff. He's got all these tests to see how this all compares. But what I'm going to give to you is kind of the rolling average of what all that says. I talked to him about this 2 days ago. And so we have he has the evidence for this. So this is a chart. I'm going to spend just a moment here. So hang on here. I'm going to go ahead and click down one. So the 1.0 number on here is basically a Mac Pro running a standardized test. And so the test that you're going to see here is reflective of most of the platform. And so he has an older Mac Pro running a test. Then you have, so the server's on the local network. The client, which is what we're testing here, is on the local network. This is an M1 running the test, and it's about twice as fast, a little over twice as fast, as the old Mac Pro. But the Mac Pro is probably 10 years old, so that's kind of, really high-end machine 10 years ago, but it's not so great anymore. This new M1's about double. Very interestingly, if you buy the current Mac Mini i7, the high-end i7 Mac Mini, right? The performance for most of the things is pretty close to what the M1 does already. And this is with the older software, 19.2. Does that make sense, right? And so, so what happens is that when you run 19.3 on the M1, remember this is under emulation, so this is as slow as it possibly can go. It matches the current performance of the Intel. But what if you optimize it? What actually happens, right? There's a big gaping hole at the top of the chart here, and you get a kind of a clue on that. That is the difference that you get with it optimized. And this is an average. This is an average. So what this means is that you get about 2.2 times faster. So over 200, over 100, it's twice as fast, over twice as fast on average. Some of the tests you have are 10 times as fast. Some of the tests are only 50% faster. So if you take all the tests and you average them out, this is what you get. So if you're an M1 user and you upgrade to 19.3 and you get your plugins and stuff situated, you might see a 2% or 200% improvement. But remember, it's you got a local part of the file. You got part of the file running on the server. Where's the server at? Is the server any faster? It's not any faster, so it's your client faster. And then you have a slow network between the two, because if you have a slow network with lots of latency, that could be a major contributing factor as to why you're not running faster. You should see a noticeable increase in performance. If you are running the server in your office, an M1 server, and you're using M1 clients, and it's locally in the office on the local LAN, you'll probably see a 200% performance improvement. It's that fast, that much faster. So it's really quite impressive. But once again, it's the weakest link. And so we've talked about these in these other live streams. Why every day are we here at 1 o'clock? We're talking about latency and network and how to make things more efficient, go faster. So once again, I'm just going to refer to those. We also talk about it in our video training course. So how to get around that kind of stuff. But if say that you've just coded a solution and you don't want to rewrite it and you want to go twice as fast, this is a route that you're going to very rarely just hardware help you this much. And hardware improvement or a software improvement help you this much. Really, it's the M1 processor and an updated version of FileMaker. I mean, this is like someone killed unicorns and ground them up and put them into this. This is special what do they call unicorn blood or something like that, right? Whatever. It's like very special stuff in here. It's rare. I can't remember. The last time this happened was FileMaker 15 when they introduced caching, and the FileMaker solution would open 300% faster than it would previously. Okay, yeah, there you go. There's our good. Thank you, Net Lobster. So let me help everyone out here. So this is the stuff I have to look at for those of you wondering about this. So here is the Net Lobster. Oop, not that one. Where does the Net Lobster go? Let's see if I can find Net Lobster. This is the other artwork I get, right, from Net Lobster. So she's kind of a distraction here. One of the great, she writes blogs in the FileMaker community, does all sorts of stuff. She's great. So, but yeah, she's a problem child. We have to keep an eye on her. So moving along. So what about other platforms like Linux? Well, they had Claris, of all things, built. They actually had to even bring some of their old engineers out of retirement, like because they built the Linux version of FileMaker Server years ago. Then it sat on the shelf, and it rotted. And so then they're like, hey, let's resuscitate this, right? Well, it's like trying to resuscitate a dead body that's been dead for like a day. Really hard to resuscitate someone who's been dead for a day. That's kind of what Claris had done last year when they brought FileMaker out of retirement, FileMaker Server out of retirement for Linux CentOS, right? And then what happens, of course, is that the CentOS gets deprecated by Red Hat. It's a licensing issue. And Claris goes, oh, damn, we just put all this money into this. Now we have to reinvest all over again to get it fixed for Ubuntu. So real quick, for those of you who wonder about this, there are what they call, Jacob, if you can help me with this, there's like stable builds, like long supported builds. What do we call that?
Long-term support release.
Long-term support release. And so for those of you wondering what this means, if you are stepping across a creek and there's cold water running, for those of you who have never done this, this is a challenge for you. And you step on rocks, not a bridge, but the rocks that just happen to be there. Some rocks you'll stand on, they're very flat, they're dry, they're like rock solid. That's a good, stable place to live. That's how you can think about versions of software. You know, the next version across the creek and the next version. You'll get to some versions that'll be rocky, they'll be shifty, they're buggy, you might fall in the water. That sucks. So you want to walk across the creek and feel free to stop when you get to a stable spot. So 1804 is a stable spot in the Ubuntu universe. And And so Claris retooled FileMaker Server for that. They also retooled the data migration tool, which is great. Now, this next one's really great. So finally, back in 1860, there was a company called Microsoft that had this thing called Internet Explorer. And at the time, they were using horses to deliver the mail and stuff. So they had the Pony Express, you had the Internet Explorer. They're both really old. And so finally, Microsoft made some updates that allowed Claris to make some updates. So in 19.3 for Windows, the web viewers are using the Edge Chromium libraries, which is great. So you don't need the horse anymore, right? The Pony Express is out. Horses are for petting, for fun. You don't have to use them to deliver. You don't have to use them to deliver your mail anymore, right?
We have a question from someone on Twitch, but I'm not quite sure what he's asking.
So you will talk about 19.3 the rest of the way. Yes. As opposed to maybe some, if you'd like to see something else, send us an email to support or let us know what you'd like to see here. So, so this is the conversation that goes on about Windows. So the Windows people, this is actually kind of a huge thing. It's kind of been long in coming. Obviously the joke about the horse, but you get the point. If you are a Windows shop and you're doing a lot of web viewer action, a lot of web JavaScript and things like that, you need to look at that and try it out and play with it a little bit. If customers just update and run this, I think generally Edge will work, Chromium will work just fine. But anytime you swap out the entire library and it's so revolutionarily new and better, there might be problems. You might run into issues with that, right? So, yeah. Oregon Dean, I don't know what the other choices are for me. So, so this is the Chromium library. So if you're on Linux, on CentOS, eventually you're going to want to go to Ubuntu. And every time they do this, I think Claris makes little improvements to efficiency, but the product gets better. In fact, we're going to talk about that in a second. So then we have this web viewer, which is really the big news for Windows. So Mac, Silicon, 200% improvement. Linux, now we have modern support at a stable stepping stone in the creek at 1804. Windows, you get the new web viewer. People have been asking for this for years, right? So I think that right there is a really good release right there in itself. But Claris wasn't done. So then we get some additional new functions. We get, let's see, you get a couple of them. Right. Oh, this is the one new function. Get model attributes, which has to do with, I think, machine learning. And then this one is one of those deals where people were out in front of the Claris building with pitchforks and burning hay and threatening to burn down the building because Claris, back in the day, it's a long story about a guy who was there, who screwed this up, then he quit and went to work for Salesforce. I could give you the long story, but the short version is that the Claris team there had to kind of resuscitate this. The log administration and reading from FileMaker Server is back in the product. So yeah, it's on FileMaker Cloud 2, it's on FileMaker Server, so the ability to read the logs. So Server has always created logs like open the file wasn't closed properly, running a backup, can't run the backup is full, all the things that go into a log, very important. Jacob, you have anything on this you want to add? Because we're not going to really detail this right this second.
No, it's pretty slick. I was hoping for a more awesome feature, as I think we discussed previously, but no, the log viewer actually is really nice. It's honestly easier to use than the previous one was, so props, frankly, to the re-implementation. It's decent.
Yep.
My like hope of hopes, dream of dreams is that I would, for example, be able to like view the Windows general logs or something like that. But they cover absolutely everything that's in the FileMaker Server logs, and that's what people were missing. So it's no real issue.
Yeah, absolutely. So new features in Cloud 2. I haven't tried this out, but apparently in Cloud 2 you have SASE scripts, server-assisted script execution. Management. It's where you schedule the server to run a FileMaker script for you. I think that's manageable in the web admin console. It was in a punch list. I don't play with Cloud too much, but I've been told it's there. So if someone can confirm or deny that, that would be fantastic. So other performance improvements, which is kind of an interesting topic. So as if all the other performance improvements were not enough, we have this huge list. Improved data API grab lock performance, Java Web Publishing Core notification concurrency, Car style windows that recycle the CSS and cache, so they're faster. Memory leak that's fixed. WebDirect now uses CSS in the cache, which makes it run faster. Fixed a Tomcat issue, fixed another issue. A lot of technical stuff under the hood, but lots of performance fixes, right? You're like, wow, that's fantastic. It's so great. That's awesome. Nope, we're not done yet. So now we get to the helicopter is landing and the guys rappelling out, or guys and gals, engineers are rappelling out, it's a loose term, and they're helping customers fix problems. And so we start to see upgraded functions. What do the developers need for upgraded add-ons, things like that? A couple things are obvious fixes down here, like it's not going to return CentOS OS anymore. It'll return Ubuntu, things like that. There's also this new Git application architecture. ARM64 is the Apple Silicon name for that. So once again, a JSON function up here, a couple of them that are improved. My understanding is that they did these just for Kyle, because they called Kyle up. Kyle said, FileMaker told Kyle, if you could have anything in the world, what would you have? And he said, well, I'd have $1 million and some JSON fixes. So they went, okay, well, no $1 million, but we'll give you some JSON. So here comes the helicopter repair department, right? They come in, they're repairing stuff. These are all the fixes that have started to show up, right? And I'm not going to go through all these. These are tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of stability improvements that are to the platform. Much, much better than the previous 19.2, which was better than the previous 19.2, which was better than 19.1, which was better than 19, right? So you're like, wow, that's really amazing. We got all these stability fixes. This is great. Oh, wait a minute. Now we have so many fixes, we can't fit them on one screen. So we got more fixes, right? So screen after screen. This is all what they've done in 3 months, right? It's like, wow, that's pretty amazing, right? So anyway. So more of this. We're not going to get into all these, but you might have a bug. Odds are most people know about at least one bug. Run the update, see if it's fixed. If it's not fixed, write it up, let them know. But they're taking customer bug fixing seriously, right? Can you not tell? Can you not tell? I mean, and they're giving us details on it, right? They're acknowledging that there was a bug. See, back in the old days, it'd be like, we didn't fix any bugs. Why didn't you fix any bugs? Because FileMaker is perfect. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago. It never crashes. It's perfect. And therefore, since it's perfect, we don't have bugs. Therefore, we don't have any bugs to fix, right? Historically, that was kind of Claris's attitude, right? It's like, we won't really talk about bugs, so that implies our product is not perfect. Okay, we all know it ain't perfect. We have to get them to communicate with us, and they're starting to do that. Like, hey, here's this is great. This is great. This gives me confidence that they're listening, which is really awesome. I need to have confidence in a company that we invest in this much. We need to have confidence that they're listening, that they're taking action. They're not just flapping their lips, but they're actually doing stuff. So forget all the talk, all the lip flapping. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is the real stuff. So we got a bunch of screens of fixes. Oh, it's great. Whoa, there's more. There's even more. Now we have security fixes. So when we talk to people, a government agency who I'm not going to name because I don't want to get them in trouble, they go, hey, Richard, we got FileMaker 12, and we're still using the Pony Express, and we want you to help us like add some new features to it. All right, so never mind FileMaker 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 19, 1, 2, 3, right? Those are all the releases that have come out since then, plus the bug fixes. And they're down here and up here. And these are hacker-specific repairs, fixes, upgrades to the technology. Now, this will help keep your FileMaker solution, your server, secure. Unless you're one of these people that makes your password 1234. Then this stuff can't help you at all. Right? So if your password's 1234 or password, then this can't help you. We cannot help you. But if you actually take security seriously, your password's pound \/ beaver happiness 2185.3 exclamation point. Pretty secure password, right? And then this stuff will all come into play over here, right? So very, very important. Questions along the way. Sky Henderson, other than pushing out the update to early adopters to see them work, what are people planning for the role of the time frame for servers? And I'm going to let Jacob answer that question. Jacob, if you can see Discord, I'll let you tee that. I'm almost done here, so let me kind of land.
I'll let you finish. Yep.
So, OS compatibility, right? So let's talk about this. So for those of you wondering, does anyone See anything that is so strangely surprising on this list here, right? Anything strangely surprising? No? Kind of unusual, wasn't expected. Well, 11 is the current operating system, right? It's Big Sur, right?
Mojave support.
Yeah, that would be it. So historically, every year, Claris chops off one operating system out of support. They're supporting 10.14. So they didn't like shoot everyone's versions of 10.14 Mojave, right? So I'm not sure why they feel suddenly generous or how that conversation came to be. But it's always, I don't want to use really old computers. I got some really nice computers that won't run 10.15 or whatever they won't run. And you hate to like just throw stuff away because Claris made you buy new Apple hardware, right? And then on the server side of things, you got the M1 and you got Silicon chips. Operating system has to be the same operating systems. Linux has to be 1804, or although you could just try it on a newer one because that's not 1804 is the last stable one, right? They've had other ones since then. Jacob,
there's a new stable 2004. They release one every 2 years, so
eventually Claris will probably certify that one. I'm sure there was a reason why they didn't. And then Windows Server 2016, 2019. So once you get all this going, you start to see that 4 releases, and this is a ton of material. This is what constitutes what everyone thought should be FileMaker 20. This is the whole point, right? That makes sense? That is the whole point. So this is effectively 20. 19.3 is effectively 20. And they've delivered a ton of value, and their customers are listening, they're listening. Well, customers always listen, mostly, but Claris is listening to the customers, which is really nice. You want to take a swing at these 2 questions here? So just repeat the question first, Jacob.
Yep. So I'll Scott Henderson, and then do you want me to handle Agent Chevy as well?
Yeah, just do a 2 for there.
Okay. So for Scott Henderson's question, his question is, other than pushing out the update to early adopters, just see how it works, see if there's bugs, etc. What are people planning for a rollout time frame for server updates and client updates? So I'll put it 2 ways. I have very few issues with the previous release, and because 19.3 appears, Richard's covered the couple features that they're introducing here, but because, at least from my perspective, 19.3 is primarily a quality release, basically I think people can go now. You need to keep in mind some of these update problems associated with plugins and ODBC stuff on M1s and things like that. But I think RCC, basically, we're going to throw a couple people onto it and make sure, we don't find any immediate horrific issues. I'm not expecting any, just to be clear. But assuming we don't, basically within a week, we'll, sort of officially endorse it and say, yep, go for it. Or that's what it's looking like. I'm comfortable entirely with almost all of our customers on 19.2 currently. And if 19.3, as it appears, is mostly quality fixes, frankly, we're good to go at this point. So
yeah,
assuming you do your homework and do your checks and stuff like that, make sure your compatibility works. All that kind of baseline stuff. As long as you have that covered, yeah.
Cool. And then Agent Chevy had a question: was there any improvement to the managed security settings, password complexity enforcement?
I'm not aware of any.
Not that I've seen. Not that I have seen.
My usage of 19.3 did not reveal any changes or anything there.
Yeah. So Ken Well says Windows 11. I guess on the list here, he's surprised that Windows 11 wasn't on here. But is Windows 11? That's like still.
That's a joke.
That's a joke, I'm pretty sure.
That's a joke. They have not announced Windows 11. The fact of Windows 11's existence was leaked this week because, I don't know, somebody pirated a copy of it or something.
Well, the way they're going, it's just going to drag it out. So, yeah, so there you go. You got that. So other questions about this, folks? I mean, we've kind of ripped through this. I mean, there's not a lot to demo. We're going to demo the Linux install tomorrow. So if you want to see a Linux, and especially if you have less Linux experience and you want to go through this kind of slowly with Jacob, next 2 days are going to be really educational for you. All right. So highly recommend those next 2 days. People are asking questions. It would have been nice to find support for Google account groups for security accounts, but I think it's more an issue with Google. So this gets back to Active Directory. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move myself over here a little bit. I'm gonna bring this over here so we can see kind of the question conversation action going over here. We've had a conversation where 360works came out. We were talking Active Directory, and my understanding is that groups, if you want to do groups, which is really the value of Active Directory, is you need to do groups with Azure, have an Azure account, and manage it through Microsoft's Azure up in the cloud, or Active Directory on site if you're a Microsoft shop. If you're trying to do Google or AWS, it'd be nice if there were groups there, but for whatever reason that's not implemented, or not implemented in a way that FileMaker can take advantage of. UserMac says it installs a runtime of Edge. Will this be evergreen is the question. That's kind of a Jacob question.
Yep, I was typing the answer to it. So I don't know the direct answer to the question, just to be clear for everyone. However, looking at the direction Microsoft has moved lately, my assumption is basically that they are going to, yes, update it constantly or whatever in the background, essentially through Windows Update, either Windows Update or Windows Store, however they're handling that. So.
Warner says that Microsoft has an event scheduled for Thursday. There's a link here to tomorrow's live Windows Microsoft Windows event. Maybe they're going to address the issue. I'm going to go ahead and copy paste this over here for those of you who are interested.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's the Windows 11 event that everyone's talking about.
Okay, yeah. Well, I can't imagine them actually shipping it today or tomorrow. It would be, they're probably beta or something like that. So there we go. Yeah, so it'd be good to see neomorphism added to that. Yeah, we talked to Nick about this, and he's in on his he's kind of actually overseas, but he's working on this stuff, so we'll get an update from him on that. I don't have any more information at that at the moment. So yeah, Microsoft update event tomorrow. That should be interesting as well. So and so yeah, there's some questions about Linux. We're going to save some of those for tomorrow. I don't want to recant all that, but any questions from the folks, right? So we kind of ran through this. So I can open up 19.3 over here. Surprisingly, it looks the same as 19.2. So there's not like a bunch of visual stuff in it, other than if I'm on M1, it goes much faster. It's very visually different if you're on Windows and you're using a lot of web viewers, and then the web viewers are using the IE 11 kind of code base. Those will look different, I'm sure, right? So
that would be my recommendation for people that have lots of Windows and web viewers and stuff. There's two parts to that conversation. One is you get all the new capabilities of Edge. The second part is you don't need any of the kludges and workarounds for IE anymore. And if you've written your web viewer, your JavaScript stuff for IE 11, you might be able to do stuff faster or cleaner or whatever these days.
Nicer.
So
some people, nicer. I think when Claris was writing their add-ons, for example, they were doing web viewers, and I remember Todd talking about they had to write all the JavaScript and stuff, and they had to fork the code based upon what kind of they wanted to be compatible when this event happened. And so the Mac would use the newer code, and then after today or whenever it was available, they do a test on it, I guess, internally, and they would fork the code would fork and run the Edge Chromium kind of code, the Chromium based stuff. So yeah, pretty interesting. So all right, Oregon Dean, it's pretty awesome. We greatly appreciate everyone here. If we don't have any more questions, we're going to land the plane a little bit early, give your 15 minutes back to you at the top of the hour. But I just want to make sure we hammer this stuff out, but it's good content. So that's good. People like that. See you, Dean, tomorrow. It's good. Thank you. All right, everyone. Greatly appreciate it. Come back tomorrow for the Linux install tomorrow and Friday. We'll see you there. See you.
cool, collected the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.